Hey guys, and welcome back to Churn Farms. So a lot has happened since we were last together. As you can see, it's the evening of day 23 of summer. We only have one more day of summer, and we have finally picked up all of our potatoes. It took 4 days to harvest our potatoes, 2 days of digging, and basically 2 days of collecting. And in the end, we had ourselves over 300,000 liters of potatoes out of those two fields. That was far more potatoes than I would have ever imagined we would get. And based on my spreadsheet, that is far more potatoes than we will ever need for pigs. So we've got more than enough potatoes. So what we're going to do today and tomorrow, we're going to work those two fields. We've already put a layer of fertilizer on them, and we're going to cultivate those fields, and we're going to put poplar in at least one of those fields before autumn hits, because I am expecting once autumn comes, our wheat and our barley to be ready. I'm also expecting our canola to be ready, and our corn will be ready to chop, I'm pretty sure. So let's just take a look here at our wheat field. It's showing an 85%. It's nice golden color. It's going to be ready here in the next couple days, no doubt. Alright, we're stopped here. Let's go check out our grass. Grass is growing nicely. I expect we'll get full growth on this in the next couple of days also. So I'm anticipating a very, very busy autumn season. I figured we would go ahead and take a little bit of the downtime that we had here. You may see our dollar value, our bank account. Our bank account got a nice boost from some logging that we did the last 3 days. We had basically set up and staged a fair number of logs to be processed. So once we were done our potato harvest, we were able to come in here and start processing some logs fairly quickly. Gate. Alright, so we are going to quickly cultivate our field here, or both of our fields, and probably it will be tomorrow before we will get around to starting to put poplar in the ground. We're looking to put poplar in this field. And then, depending on what we get done as far as our autumn goes, we may put poplar in the field across the drive there. It all really just depends on if we're going to be able to get to it or not. May run out of time. Once winter comes, we won't be able to plant poplar. But we may put him in. We may put some poplar in next spring, depending on how busy we are. So, like I said, we're just gonna cultivate these two fields, and if we don't put anything in the in that field over there before springtime, well, then at least it'll be cultivated. We're gonna go ahead and put another layer of fertilizer on here. So at least both fields will be cultivated, and we'll have 2 coats of fertilizer, if anything. But I am looking to put poplar in this field as a just another crop, just another alternative to do. But I am definitely glad that we invested in the root crop storage. Filled that, and we've got a tipper It's about half full of potatoes at this point. So we're going to need to empty our tipper before we collect any more, or before we start our grain harvest. I've already talked to the vehicle shop about what type of harvesters they may have available, and if they've got any on good deals as far as leasing goes. I think what we're going to try to do, since we've got a pretty hefty bank account at this point, is we may go and front the money and buy the harvester, and then at the end of the harvest season, we may look to try to basically get rid of it on the used market. Because the amount of time that I'm thinking we're going to have to put into the harvest, I'm pretty sure that by the time we would contract out with the contracting firm to lease a harvester for the duration of the autumn harvest season, probably would have spent just as much money as we will basically spend in buying the harvester and then selling it on the used market. The shop had this really great deal on this case cultivator. It's 10 meters, and I figured it would make fairly quick work of these two fields and allow us to get on with our planting tomorrow. So we're just gonna, so probably maybe another 2 passes on this field, and then we'll be done. We'll move over to that one. Then we will. We're only leasing the cultivator. Kind of trying it out. We may end up purchasing it after harvest season. We'll have to see. And it depends on how much time we have at the end of autumn to do any field work, and how soon into winter will we see frozen ground. That's the unknown here. Is I don't know when in the winter we'll get frozen ground to know if we will have an opportunity to work some of these fields before the ground freezes. These utility poles, they do pose a little bit of a challenge on these fields where they impose themselves. Alright. Tell you, picking up the potatoes in this other field, the one that we're getting ready to go into, it was a lot easier than picking up the potatoes in the field we just finished. I'm thinking because this field's a little bit bigger and allowed us to have more straight runs than the other field did. Made working with the conveyor and the tipper far easier. but it did take a tremendous amount of time to bring these two fields in with potatoes, and I pretty much credit that to the yield, the outstanding yield that we had on the potatoes here. Because that was, gosh, that was probably close to 20 trips with the tipper over to the pig area for to dump in the root crop storage building. Just looking at the wonderful sunset here. Alright, so we're going to hammer out this field, and we'll return our cultivator, and I'll be right back with you guys tomorrow morning with the poplar planter, poplar cedar, which is the proper term for that, and a couple pallets of saplings to about putting poplar in that small field there. Good morning, everybody. First thing in the morning, we ran down here to the shop, and we've got our poplar planter and pallet of poplar. Not really sure how much it's going to take to plant this field, so we just went with one pallet for now. I suspect we're going to need to run our telehandler down and pick up another pallet, but we'll just see how far this one gets us. We finished cultivating the two fields overnight last night, and I went ahead and fertilized the small field. So we've got two applications of fertilizer on the small field that we're going to be putting our poplar on. And I just thought we would go ahead and get that done last night so that we could get a bright and early start on our planting. I'm going to use GPS for this, and while this field's kind of an odd shape, we're going to hopefully line up with this corner here, and just use this corner as a 1.6. Let's just double check on that. Alice does it. Let's check. It's interesting. Guess we're just gonna have to go off of not 2.4, that's for sure. Just go with what it said by at the start, 1.6, and see what that does for us, I guess. Actually, the planting width is narrower than that. Let's just go with that and see how it does. So nobody will ever claim that planting poplar is fast. That is for darn sure. Sitting here at 3 miles an hour, putting our poplar in the ground. I would not be surprised if we are not all day long just getting this field planted in poplar. But we'll go ahead and do it. According to the map author, this map is somehow configured to have poplar regrow. So when we come through here and harvest our poplar, supposedly won't have to replant it. It will just grow back on its own, kind of like grass. So that's how I understand it. So one reason I wanted to plant poplar was that is indeed the case, to kind of demonstrate that fact. Be pretty cool. If that does work, then it would be a pretty decent investment, I would suppose, to only have to spend the time to do this once and to be able to harvest poplar multiple times with the time investment. Some of this is a test to see. It looks like we are missing a little bit of a space, so I guess we could. We are over one. Suppose we could expand the working width just a little bit. By 1.3, and we'll just go with that, I guess, and see how that works. The plan will be to also replant the trees up on the hill there where we've been doing our forestry. That's the plan I got going on here. Over winter, the goal will be to do some stump grinding and make way for planting saplings up there. I don't know if we're going to necessarily go for a 1-to-1 replant ratio, but we are looking to replant those saplings. Be doing that over winter. Let's check. I think we can plant trees. Doesn't say we can't. So we'll have to give it a try, barring frozen ground. I know we can't plant in frozen ground, but doesn't really say we can't plant trees in winter, so we'll just have to give it a try and see how it works. Oh my goodness, this is going to take forever. We're just going to do a little bit of a time lapse on this, so that you all aren't bored out of your mind. And if we didn't do a time lapse, basically you'd only see me plant this little corner of the field. At least with a time lapse, it will be a bit more of the field will get planted before we run out of our time. So with that, I will just stop talking, and we'll let the music pick up and see how far we can get here during this game day. Alright guys, well we have been hard at work planting poplar all day long. As you can see, it is 10:42 p.m. It just finished raining. Oh my gosh. Could not have planned that any better. Any rate, we've been planting all day, and you can see how far we've gotten into the field, which is we're over halfway, but we're not done, and we're not going to get done before midnight. So we're just going to basically, I guess, finish this strip here, and then park the planter and see what tomorrow brings. If we've got stuff ready to harvest and we have wet crop, then we might come back in here and plant some more poplar. If we don't have wet crop and stuff's ready to harvest, well then guess what? We're harvesting, because if we look at our forecast, I do that, the lights turn off. We got rain 2 out of the 7 days coming up, so I'd like to go ahead and it's cleared off now. I'd like to go ahead and get started on the harvest of our beans, not beans, but our wheat and our barley, and we'll have to see what else has come due, because we also need to make some hay. But right now, straw is the most important. We used the last bale of straw in the last load of power food that we made up. We have a little bit of straw in the cow barn for bedding, so we're not in desperate need of straw for bedding. But we will not be able to make another batch of power food until we get that straw in. So I would like to go ahead and make hay, but right now, wheat or barley is the priority to get some straw in. I'm going to park this here out of the way. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and shut her down for the night. We had to buy a second pallet of poplar. So our truck is over here. We didn't use the decided not to use the telehandler. We went and used our flatbed pickup. So we brought our pickup over here. So we're just going to go ahead and run on home and turn in and see what tomorrow brings us. Until next time, guys, happy farming.